as it comes up throughout the weekend. It's going to be a good time. There is 2 Monday night games.
Interesting.
There's 2 Monday night games. What we've been told is that it's basically because there's no Monday night game on January 1st, which is a Monday, because it will be the semifinals. So there's a little team from Texas. It's going to be playing a big bowl game against Washington.
There you go, the Sugar Bowl.
The Sugar Bowl.
There you go.
They'll be playing. So it'll be a fun time. So those big games are happening. So they're doing 2 this week, but we still have a bunch of big games, including a huge Eagles-Cowboys game.
Massive.
And I don't know if you could have found a better time for both of these teams, for the Cowboys, for both of these teams to be playing. Because if you're the Cowboys, this is when you want to play the Eagles. You're at home. Yep. Where you've had a great record against the Eagles recently. You've been playing really well with a great home field advantage against everybody recently. And the Eagles are starting to struggle a little bit. And we know the 49ers have said they understand how to defend Jalen Hurts now. They know if you're able to contain him in the pocket, he is not a pocket passer. He likes to get outside of it. He likes to run a little bit more. He likes to get outside and see the downfield a little bit better. So if you can contain him, you can bring pressure on him, and it becomes a problem. That was their solution, and they had a great game against him last week. Now, we know partially that was they were healthy, and they felt like they were going full force. Philadelphia not fully healthy, but the Cowboys are not dealing with a fully healthy Eagles either. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites in this game. The Eagles in the last 5 games are giving up 29.4 points a game.
Whew.
That's not a great stat against an offense that's looking really, really good, and a quarterback who's in the MVP conversation right now because of how well he's throwing the football. We know the run game's still not there fully, but the passing game has been electric, and the Eagles don't seem to be stopping too many people right now. What do you see in this game, Jacob?
Well, I'll tell you that, like you said, the Cowboys won the last 5 home matchups against the Eagles, and we have another trend that's working in our favor really well. The teams that play the 49ers the following week are 7-20 over the last 2 seasons.
That's true.
Absolutely love that stat because the Niners are so physical. They take something away from you.
That is, I will say, I'm not sure 100% that will carry over in this game because it wasn't a game in the second half. So I think if you play them tough the entire game, then it means it's a little bit more. But I don't think the Eagles really tried that hard in the second half, did they?
They were still taking those hits.
They were, but I don't you were hitting hits from second stringers, and
no, dude, go look up some of the highlights. Trent Williams is erasing Eagles.
That's true. Trent Williams was doing really well in that game. But no, but I see what you're saying. We can also throw in the turnover battle right now. Interesting part in the first game because Dallas outplayed the Eagles a lot in that first game. We're down at the end. They could have taken the lead. Of course, Mike McCarthy.
1st and goal at the 5 with 30 seconds to go, down 5 points.
And Mike McCarthy can't get the plays in time. And
then we have somebody false start, and you just melt. I mean, it's...
And you know, they had the mistakes that cost them. However, in that game, the Eagles were +1 in the turnover column.
Right.
So far this season, Dallas is +8 in the turnover column. The Eagles are -2. So this is a turnover battle where that was kind of an anomaly of the season so far. I believe Dallas in the last 3 or 4 games has had 2 turnovers a game on other teams. So Dallas right now is playing as well as they've played. They're going into this 5-game stretch we talked about. They beat Seattle. Now they're going up against the Eagles at home.
This is where it really starts.
This is where if you can get momentum can keep pulling you. And, then you go, okay, well now we could win, we could win all 5 of these games. But especially when 2 or 3, and then we're sitting pretty for NFC picture to maybe even get a bye week, possibly come in there and play. We're right back in the playoff picture at a very high level, and we're back in the division record that the Eagles are not going to run this division for the next 5-6 years as they thought they were going to be able to do. With all that being said, this is a point where the Cowboys historically, not this season, historically,
come
up short and disappoint their fans.
Come on.
But that's historically. That's not this team, right?
That's not this team at all.
All right.
No, and it's the NFC East. There's never been a repeat champion. So,
I mean, not never, but...
Well, okay.
It's been a while.
In recent history.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So if we're going to say that it has not been a repeat champion in a while, that the Cowboys could come back and win this, they're 3.5-point favorites. Do they cover 3.5 points, Jacob?
Dak Prescott is having the best season of his career to this point, but as you mentioned, this is the time of the year where they start to fall apart. I think this year's a little bit different, though. I talked about it earlier in the week and last week. Dak is building a lead on opponents, and that's why his numbers are godly this season, unlike previous years where he's trying to play catch-up the entire time because they got put in a hole early. I think the Cowboys do take care of business here at home and cover the 3.5 against the Eagles. I haven't worked out the tiebreakers in the division. I'm not sure where that lies. I'm pretty sure the Eagles still have the nudge, so I think we have to get one game above them. But you're right in the mix for the NFC and the division if you take care of business today or this weekend.
Yeah, and you do have, if it goes to a 3-team tiebreaker, then the 49ers have that tiebreaker right now because they've beaten both of you guys. Right. But tiebreaker scenarios, you have to figure out, common opponents, I'm sure, in NFC and the divisional opponents, and I haven't looked at what they're doing.
We can worry about that week 17.
Yeah, exactly. Once we get down a little bit, because the Eagles right now are struggling. And this could be a part of the season where they drop 2 or 3 of their next games, including this one. I don't have them winning this game. I think the Cowboys can win this game.
Really?
I think historically they have underperformed in situations like this.
Okay.
But they're playing well right now. The Eagles are beat up and down. I think the Cowboys can win this game. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I do think they can cover 3.5.
We'll take it. I'm going to get you a Cowboys jersey, and you can wear it on Sunday. Yeah. You can know what a winner feels like.
What a winner feels like.
What a regular season winner feels like. You can.
Are you going to give me an Aikman jersey?
No, that's a regular season winner. Season winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a Tony Romo jersey. Let's go. But yeah, this is a game for Cowboys fans. It's a Sunday Night Football is going to be,
and it should be.
And yeah, it should be a marquee matchup. It's going to be a big one. I think that everything building up to it, this is the leadership of Dak Prescott coming through, where he's going to be able to get this team up for it enough that they're going to be able to go out, and CeeDee Lamb's going to want to show out. He's been having an amazing season. I think he's kind of, as much as he's talked about, the reality of when you can have someone as dominant as him as wide receiver, it makes everything else so much easier.
Or when you just learn that, hey, we have him out there, let's just feed him.
But that's my point. But that's my point is you throw it to him enough that now they're having to allocate more and more resources to that.
Right.
Now Brandon Cooks is open. Now Ferguson is getting a lot more opportunities. And I think you're opening up the field to a lot more activity and also pulling back a little bit on the pass rush because they're having to allocate so many resources to stopping CeeDee Lamb that you have to kind of change up everything else you're doing. And that's one of the that's what, once you can go to him and he's making catches in double coverage. Now we got to pull a safety over on the other side. And it lets you be able to do some more things in that offense. It lets Dak be able to get those numbers. So if you add in the 150 that CeeDee Lamb's going to get, and then he can go out and throw the ball to another 150 yards to Brandon Cooks, who's another great receiver, and Ferguson's over there in his play, and their connection's getting better. It's as long as CeeDee Lamb is playing at this level, I think he's really the key to make this go. Because if you take him out and they're able to play man on man and just set it down, I don't know if Brandon Cooks has it in him to be that guy. And I don't know if the scheming is really doing it as much as CeeDee Lamb is just playing out of this world. And Dak Prescott is understanding what he's doing and taking full advantage of it.
Well, Dak's always been very confident. I've talked about it before on this show with trends that I was tracking where Dak will confidently throw into trouble sometimes because he is first read and fire. I don't care what's sitting over there. So I don't know what tweak him and McCarthy made where I guess he just understands what he's looking at a little bit better, but he is confidently firing still and he's hitting and we are moving the ball. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely it's going to be a fun game to watch because at the end of the day, you expect this Cowboys team to put up some points. Again, we said the Eagles have been giving away a lot of points in the last 5 weeks, and I don't think it's going to stop this week. I don't think that all of a sudden their defense is going to play at that next higher level.
No, but they're also not going to go away quietly into the night. They are going to scratch and claw.
No, they're going to go for it. Another big game, Jaguars at the Browns. The Jaguars.
Ugh.
It is a big game because the Browns are still trying to stay in playoff relevance. They have not said who's starting at quarterback. Joe Flacco could get the start, but they have not said yet. They've not announced. We don't know for the Jaguars either.
Right.
Beathard is injured, but he's working. Trevor Lawrence had that high ankle sprain. We thought he was going to be out at least 4 weeks. He's
unlikely.
He is practicing right now.
He is.
He wants to play in this game.
He was at practice. I wouldn't say practicing.
He's practicing.
He's okay.
He's not maybe full taking it with the ones.
Okay.
Christian Kirk is out for that game, though, so it does hurt their wide receiver core. You still do have Calvin Ridley. Zay Jones is still there. So you do have some good receivers. But I'm not putting Trevor Lawrence in that game.
No.
Against the Browns. I'm not letting Myles Garrett in my season because he goes and takes out Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, no thank you.
Because one bad hit or one thing like that, and he tries to plant his foot when the guys get like, that's the thing, is that ankle sprain, you can make it so much worse by him trying to plant as he's getting hit. And now that ankle is going to be weak, and it's going to flip immediately, even as much as you want to tape it up or whatever else, and you're going to put more pressure on it. So it's not even a dirty hit or anything else. I think you risk too much going up against this Browns defense, that pass rush, and Myles Garrett, who drew a delay of game this year. He drew a delay of game this year because he was switching sides, and I believe it was the Titans were switching sides, were switching two blockers, tight ends, with him to block him.
Oh, my goodness.
So they were switching tight ends, and so every time the tight ends would move, he would just move to the other side. So the quarterback would have to call the switch back again, and they ran out of time on the play clock because Myles Garrett just kept moving. That's how much teams respect him, and he's going after guys.
Dude, he's having a hell of a season. He's out there doing basketball moves before he starts his pass rush. Yeah, absolutely not.
But this is a big one because they were a game ahead of the Colts. They were a game ahead of the Texans. Ooh. If they lose this game to the Browns, the AFC South is wide open again. The Texans have now beaten the Jaguars twice. They're ready to go in this. Or they beat them once. They're tied 1-1 against the Jaguars, so that they don't you have to go back into tiebreaker mode for that one.
Right.
But the Colts are in a winnable game as well. And you could have a three-way tie atop of the AFC South now with the Titans looking on, because they had bad karma because they wore those Oilers jerseys that should belong to the city of Houston.
Oh, is that what happened? Is that what ended it for him?
Yeah, that's what ended it for him. It wasn't, trying to push
it wasn't
Derrick
their
Henry.
Stubbornness.
It wasn't pushing Derrick Henry out there like a car that hasn't gotten an oil change in 10 years, and they're like, nah, don't run more. We'll get to the next town.
No, by the way, we might trade you too. Oh, just kidding. We still want you here. Yeah.
By the way, we don't have another game plan. Right. But the Browns are 3-point favorites. They're at home.
Yeah.
This feels like a Browns game, right?
Give me the Browns. Give me the better defense when it's a matchup of backup QBs. And I'll take the Browns all day on that.
Yeah, the team that is winning in spite of not having a quarterback versus the team who it could be in a lot of trouble without their quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be third string as well because we know Beathard, their backup, is also ailing right now.
Well, it could be second or third string for the Browns. You don't know yet.
Yeah, it could be fifth or sixth string. We don't know for the Browns. Big game Rams and Ravens. The Rams have been turning it on lately, trying to get back in the playoff hunt. They're healthy they're the healthiest they've been in probably 2 years now.
Is
year and a half.
Is he playing
Kupp is back. He's getting back into form. Stafford is playing well. They're getting back into that level. Couple interesting stats. The Ravens have won 7 straight games against the NFC.
Love that.
That's an interesting stat right there. They're also 29th against the run. Kyren Williams, who's a big reason why the Rams are back in, because Williams is running the ball at a high level right now. If you were lucky enough to get him in your fantasy league, hats off to you.
I was not.
Because he is doing, and I was not either. But the Ravens are 7.5-point favorites in this game, and it feels like the Rams should be able to hang in there. They've been playing pretty well. I know you're back in Baltimore, but they're pretty stout against the run. The Ravens aren't. It feels like you should be able to run the ball on them, slow the game down a little bit, and keep it within 7. I got the Rams keeping within 7.
You're going to do it? You're going to go with the Rams on the road?
Not to win, to cover 7.
Okay, stay within the number. I have less faith in the Rams. I think they are still figuring it out. I think they are gaining momentum. I don't think they're there yet. I said yesterday I think the Ravens are the second most complete team in the NFL behind the 49ers, and I stand by that. And I think they're going to show you this weekend. I'm taking the Ravens by double digits in this game at home.
Right. I could see that, but I think the Rams they're finding a little bit more of that Super Bowl magic they're found
getting there.
a couple years ago. And against the Rams team, I think they don't get blown out in this game. And even if it's not, I think this is a game they're going to fight to the bitter end on. And so even if it is a 14-point game, I could see a late touchdown to push it back in within 7. Yeah. And we got the hook there at 7.5. So I put him within 7.
All right, cool.
Another game. This one's not really that close, but it could be the Seahawks going further downhill. Seahawks are at the 49ers, 11-point favorites. 11 points. Can the 49ers cover 11 points?
Normally, double-digit spreads in the NFL scare me regardless of matchup, but I think after what we saw last week, the 49ers of this season, when they have everything rolling, are an exception. I'll take the 49ers to cover 14 against Seattle at home.
Yeah, I have the 49ers covering. Unfortunately, this 49ers, the Seahawks team just doesn't seem like they're clicking on the cylinders they need to be clicking on right now. And Geno Smith finally came back, had a good game, but I'm not going to trust him to do that over and over again, especially against this San Francisco team. And the San Francisco offense just looks too good right now.
It just looks like a well-oiled machine.
And we've seen that Seattle defense. There's a couple guys on it that can play football. and the rest of them are going to be chasing Debo and chasing Christian McCaffrey and chasing Ayuk and chasing George Kittle the rest of the game.
It is in the division, and normally that should mean something. I just don't think right now.
I think it means something to Bobby Wagner.
I think with the run.
He can't tackle them all, though.
Right. With the run these 49ers are on, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. Bills at Chiefs.
What Josh Allen do we get?
With Josh Allen, and we're at the Chiefs. We're in Kansas City. Chiefs are a 1-point favorite, but the Bills have had more distractions this week. Everything going on. Von Miller's distraction. We know that they're having issues with Josh Allen. The reports that Sean McDermott used a 9/11 reference. Which,
how do you do that?
And I kind of tried to find the way that it works in my head.
There isn't one.
And I can't, unless someone explains to me, like, no, he was doing it about how it was bad or something, but I don't know.
He was emphasizing their teamwork and execution.
I know. That's what I keep reading. And that's why every time I read it, I'm like, did we miss something here?
There's no way.
No, it's terrible. So I think all this is happening. I've also heard rumors now, and I think Colin Cowherd's one of the front runners on this one, that the Bills hiring Harbaugh
really
seems like a thing where you're like, well, they're not that far away. And, they're built on defense. But they have this quarterback who's not great, but maybe a quarterback whisper. And Harbaugh could come in and get Josh Allen to play at a high level. You could bring him in and be a tough nose, and they could be tough nosed Bills. Oh. And you move on. If Sean McDermott, if this season spins out of control and you don't want to blow it up, you don't want to start over, and you're looking at people, it's an interesting idea that's another place that might look for a Harbaugh and say, well, we're not that far off. And, the teams, we're not going to be able to afford the team in 2-3 years anyway. So if you want a 2-3 year stop here in the NFL while things cool down in college for you, why don't you come here, try and win us the Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years? And then once all the players retire because they can't stand you like they did in San Francisco, then, go back to college again.
Do you think, is this a Cowherd theory, or is he hearing this from somebody?
I don't know. I saw it mentioned, and I just saw it in passing mentioned, and I thought that's an interesting idea. And, if you could say bet on it.
You could say bet on it.
What does bet stand for?
To bring everyone together.
It's the best. I love that he did that.
Bet.
Oh, I hate the phrase. I hate the phrase. So I'm thrilled that he's trying to ruin it.
Oh, well.
Broncos at the Chargers. Broncos have been stepping up, playing better and better. The Texans got the best of them last week, but I believe they've won 4 out of the last 5. So playing a lot better football since the beginning of the season. The Chargers have not been playing season. But an interesting fact, Denver leads the league in getting turnovers, and the Chargers can't hold on to the football. We now know that Brandon Staley is playing against Austin Eckler in fantasy football, so he says he might bench him because that's going to fix all their problems.
Isn't that wild?
That he's like, no, you know what it is? It's Austin Eckler.
We're giving him too many touches. We're giving him too many touches.
Brandon Staley, worry about your defense, buddy. Worry about your defense.
Yeah, how about we don't leave one person on Tyreek Hill, Brandon Staley? How about we do that?
Good Lord. So is this one a foregone conclusion that this is the kind of death knell to the Charger season and it's over and the Broncos are feeling good again and getting closer to 5 and getting back to maybe getting a playoff hunt?
I can't believe the Chargers are favored in this matchup.
I think people still remember what the Broncos were before, and they did just lose to the Texans.
But their last 6 games show you
Well, they're going to slow down Austin Eckler. So I think we know that that's the problem.
Yeah. So it's the change in philosophy, obviously. Less touches for Austin Eckler clearly means the Chargers are going to do better. So with that being said, I'll take the Broncos plus 2.5 on the road.
Yeah, I have the Broncos plus 2.5 on the road as well. Another last game we'll talk about. The Texans are 3.5-point favorites at the Jets. Zach Wilson has been named the starter.
Oh boy!
And for the rest of the season, God willing,
he better be after Aaron Rodgers was sent to go defend him on national TV.
Oh, good Lord! This Texans team, they've been playing well, but they got to go on the road where they have not been as good as they've been at home. You have a bunch of young players trying to get out there. They've had some injuries. Tank Dell is still out. Is this offense good enough to not turn the ball over against the Jets and get the yardage they need? I'm not too worried about the other side of it. I don't think the Jets are going to put up more than 14 to 20. I think that's a pretty hefty number for the Jets.
I think that's being generous, the 14.
But can the defense find the way to make C.J. Stroud not the quarterback he's been all season? We know he's thrown some ones that were a little questionable. He's going to be playing against some good players. We're going to see Garrett Wilson versus Derek Stingley on one side, and we'll see, I'm guessing, Nico Collins versus Sauce Gardner, maybe Robert Woods. But do you have the targets to get the ball downfield?
I think so. I think the Texans, I think everything CJ Stroud has shown you, even against tougher defenses, is it doesn't matter. His decision making still isn't affected. He's still decisive. He's quick release with the ball. He knows where he's going, and it's a pretty ball every time. It goes to where it needs to go, except sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little wild, but I think he'll be able to rein that in enough to cover 3.5 against the Jets.
He does, and I don't think you have to be a air the ball out kind of. I think you can kind of play it a little bit more conservative because I don't believe the Jets are going to score a ton of points.
Right.
So you can play it a little bit more
Get in the end
conservative.
zone 3 times, I think you win.
All right, so we talked a lot of NFL. There's some picks for you there. I do want to talk a little Texas before we get to there because I have a question to tie the Texas into the NFL because we're at that part of the year. We're getting to evaluations and all of that as we get into bowl season. So let's get to Patrick's Big Fat Poll today.
Of the day on the Horn.
Enough of that promo that we got. Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day today. 512-447-3776 is the text line. 512-447-3776. Which current Longhorn will be drafted the highest? And when I say that, I don't mean next year. It can be next year, but it could be at any year. So any current Longhorn, which one do you think is going to be drafted the highest? So you could go the easy route and say Arch Manning's going to be the number 1 overall pick in 3-4 years. You could say that. You could say it'd be Kelvin Banks. Left tackles are important in the NFL. You could say Kelvin Banks could be a 1, 2, or 3 pick, and we know how good he is. He could be the guy. Could it be Anthony Hill? Could he keep stepping up? As a freshman, look at what he did. Could he step up in that sort? Could it be Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, there's a lot of good answers there. Could it be X-Man?
Could it be X-Man? Could it be Jonte Cook?
Yeah, there's a lot of good answers there. The caveat of doesn't have to be this season.
Does not have to be.
Yeah.
And or do you want to say it's Devondre Sweat and people are going to value him and he's going to go win the Outland Trophy tonight and people are going to value him as an interior defensive lineman and pick him very top level and you're going to put him on that list. There's a lot of different choices you could go with in this. You could say JT Sanders. I don't know if he's going to be there, but you could say JT Sanders. There's plenty. You can say Manny Muhammad. Because we've seen him step as a freshman and play some big minutes for Texas.
Right. To me, I think it comes down to who is the most NFL-ready looking player, and I got to go X-Man. Just based off what I've seen, I think X-Man is the most NFL-ready looking player without knowing draft order, team needs, and all that factors into it.
I think I go Kelvin Banks just because I think he's going to be a top 5 pick.
It's a good pick.
I think left tackles are so important. I think what we've seen with him in a few years, every time I've talked to team people from other schools and other places and NFL people, they talk about him. And so I think if you're taking the safest bet, which I'm going to be conservative and take the safest bet, I'm going to say Kelvin Banks. But what do you guys think on the text line? 512-447-3776. Which current Longhorn will be drafted the highest? Current. Any Longhorn on the roster currently is part of this list.
Michael Taft.
Are we talking about the CFL draft?
Oh, come on. Come on. Show some respect.
Show some respect. Hey, look, I was part of, we were trying to get him a scholarship before he had a scholarship of Ball Don't Lie.
Yeah.
We were trying to get him. We're on the Michael Taft bandwagon. Don't worry. We've been on there. We got seats. We got a couch in the back.
What's
we're good to go.
You're just getting bored?
Just making a joke. Just making a joke. We're going to get to that. We'll get to some of your text messages. We'll talk about some NBA as well as they keep playing tonight. And the in-season tournament championship is tomorrow. Last night had some big games. We'll get into all that when we come back here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on Sports Complex here on a Friday afternoon, and that means it's a 512 Friday where we play local music, bands right here in the Austin, Texas area, Central Texas area that you can go see live around town this weekend. And this is Joe James. He is playing tonight over at the Saxon Pub. He's going to be playing with Dave Scherer. So two really talented guys. If you want to go check that out tonight at Saxon Pub, it's going to be a really good show with Joe James here right here, my man Dave Scherer as well. Both good players, both playing tonight at the Saxon Pub. Going to be a fun show.
Yeah, I like this. Groovy.
Yeah, Joe James, extremely talented guy. Extremely talented. All right. I mean, I don't know if he'd win the music battle between Nelly and TLC that was done in between the games because we talked about yesterday.
You mean the spectacle that was?
That the game started at 4 p.m. our time, 2 p.m. La Vegas time.
Great idea.
And then they had to do the break right when everybody was getting home. So, like, right when I was getting home, and you're like, all right, can tune into the game. And then it was Nelly and TLC rapping over tracks, and TLC not really singing. Just kind of, it was a track of them singing, and they were just kind of talking over it, and it was, which is fine. It's still whatever. I just don't know the age group they were aiming for with this.
I don't think they did either.
Because they were doing No Scrubs, which came out in 99. Their breakthrough hits of Waterfall came out in 94 for TLC. Nelly was like around, I would want to say like started like 99 and then was like through the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But we're talking like no one under 30 there.
Right.
Which I think you'd be aiming a little bit younger if you're like, hey, let's try and aim for like 21 to 35, that kind of demo in Vegas. But then they went a little bit older, but not old enough where you were like, let's go get like a rock band and get the disposable income of the older guys because we know they won't like it. And then we're just going to put this ugly court on the court, the painting over the court. So we'll have that. So no one wants to see that either.
How many people do you think were available at midday on Thursday in Vegas for the play-in tournament?
There was enough people that were outside, and then inside.
I'm talking about musical artists.
Oh, musical artists.
Who's going to get up and go do that?
Well, I mean, I don't think the daytime part for musical artists are like, well, my day job. I'm pretty sure they're free.
No, I can't do that, man. I got to go clock in at the call center.
I think they're free. No, my point is, it was just a weird thing to put them in. And then they had, because it was TNT and it was ESPN doing it, so they had the cross of them talking to each other, which was kind of disjointed. And
I saw a bit of that. I saw Stephen A. and Chuck going back and forth.
Yeah, they were going back and forth, yeah. And then Bob Myers trying to get into it.
I didn't catch that part.
Which I did love.
No.
I did love Charles.
Know your place, man.
I did love Charles congratulated Bob Myers. He goes, congratulations on stealing money like the rest of us. And then they were all talking about how the Warriors were going downhill. Now, one of them said, great job getting off the Titanic before it sunk.
Wasn't Chuck supposed to quit inside the NBA?
In a few years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he said it like a date, but who knows?
Is he still doing his CNN show?
Yeah, that just started, right?
Really?
I think that's just new.
No, I haven't seen any
And he's got the steam room with Ernie Johnson. He's working.
The steam room, I get it, but just the political show, I'm not sure I understand that one.
No, I don't either. But I don't watch any political TV, so I stay away from all that. But besides that, I did not get to hear any of the first game. So I didn't get to see how the crowd was pumped in the first game, if they were as electric as it was in Indiana or as it was in Milwaukee. Those crowds seemed really good for the games. I don't know what it was. We'll see on Saturday what the finals crowd sounded like, because game one was actually a pretty close game for a while until the Pacers pulled out. Tyrese Halliburton, again, giving his case. There is going to be an in-season tournament MVP.
Oh, cool. Is there a bonus?
I don't know if there's a bonus for that.
I would assume so.
But there is an in-season tournament MVP. He's making his case. He had 27.7 rebounds and 15 assists in that game. Carrying them on, Miles Turner, former Longhorn, 26 points and 10 rebounds as well in that game. And the Pacers win 128-119. Look really good in that game. We didn't get to watch a ton of it live because it was a 4 p.m. game, 2 p.m. time Vegas.
Genius.
Giannis also put up 37 points because I believe he heard that they made more money if they won, and that seems to be what kind of drives Giannis the most. So he went on and he tried, but they was not a match for this Indiana team who's playing well. And I think Indiana, like, they're a fun team to be in the in-season tournament, right?
I liked watching the highlights on SportsCenter. Tyrese Halliburton, that was my first time to really set
see
eyes
his shot?
on him, see his shot, see the way he moves around the court. The shot is not visually appealing, but it goes down. And the way he moves on the court, he's electrifying. He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, no, he's a good, but it'll be fun to watch him. He's stepping up. They were interviewing him, and they were trying to get him to go out on a limb and say that he was the best, and Shaq's trying to poke. It was an interesting interview.
How'd he do? How'd he handle that?
He did it okay, but, you know, he's like, look, I know I'm not supposed to mess up and say anything.
It's the first quarter of the season, guys. Give me a break. Yeah. Hey, how do you feel about the Dame time, Selly?
Where he looked at his wrist?
Yeah.
That was it. He looked at his wrist, and so they were all trying to make the point that he's saying it's his time now and all that. And I think he was like,
I thought he was saying, what time is it? Like, what time is it?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were trying to make a lot more of it, but I don't know if that was the case.
I liked it.
I don't mind that one either. But then we saw that. So that game was a good game. The second game, not a great game.
Woo, yes it was. It was a fantastic basketball game. Look at those Lakers.
The Lakers win 133-89. They do not let the depth matter because by the time that we went into any side of the third, fourth quarter, it was already decided. In that game, LeBron shows that he wants to win this tournament. He really does. He put up 30 points. He shot 9 for 12 in the game. 5 rebounds, 8 assists. He did that in 23 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
23 minutes.
I saw him pulling a heat check from the logo at one point and knocking it down.
Yeah, he was out of his mind. He really wants to win this tournament. You can tell. So he's ready to go. He wants a piece of it. Zion Williamson, and it was funny. They showed a clip of Brandon Ingram and Zion, and they asked him what happens if they win, and they were joking around. They're going to party in Vegas.
Yeah,
and I guess they were already planning the party because they did not come out with any type of intensity in play. Zion Williamson, though, he has 13 points, doesn't look great, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, doesn't really fight for it. He goes 6 for 8, though. He is so dominant under the basket. He's Shaq dominant underneath the basket. Like around the rim, he's Shaq dominant of scoring.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody keeps up with him once he starts bumping you down there.
Because he's just so big, so athletic, and he knows what he's worked on his footwork because he's had 2 years to do it now, where he's not been playing and get all this training. He knows what he's doing, but he doesn't seem to have that drive every night. And it feels like when he gets put on a big stage, he just doesn't necessarily have the drive to beat when everybody says, here's time, we want to see Zion shine. He kind of regresses. And it's not that he's playing bad. He's just not aggressive after it. And then when he's playing a game against and he feels disrespected because he's on NBA League Pass, and then all of a sudden he puts up 35.
Yeah, well, McDonald's pregame will do that to you. You get a varying performance from that.
It is. So, I mean, it was just an interesting because you were really looking forward to seeing what Zion could do against his Lakers team on a big stage. And he played well, but he just didn't play aggressively.
Right.
Like he was doing the right things. We saw all the talent level to do the things that we thought he could do. And you could even see now that the Spurs were playing such bad basketball. People are back on Zion again. And they're like, well, the Wemby thing is going to have to wait. We care about you again. You're playing good now.
Yeah, when that dude decides to go, it's pretty fun to watch.
But the Lakers get the win there. They will play tomorrow night.
Yes, they will.
They will play Pacers and Lakers tomorrow night. Lakers are a 4.5-point favorite in this game. The Pacers have looked unbeatable. The Lakers have looked really good, but the Pacers have just had this look to them like they're coming in to win this game. It's going to be a fun matchup to see Halliburton going up against LeBron James and see what those two guys are, when they start shooting threes against each other and trying to score against each other. See Miles Turner going up against AD. And that battle, it's going to be fun to watch for these two matchups. Are you going to just full Lakers homer this?
Oh, I absolutely am. But I do have a question. What gives out first? Is it Halliburton's hot start or is it LeBron's energy level because of his usage rate?
Well, that's the question is can the Pacers keep it a game long enough that you make LeBron play 35 minutes and then you have a shootout in the fourth quarter? And those shootouts, Tyrese Halliburton's won all of them. Because he was doing it with Jason Tatum, and he outdueled Jason Tatum. And he did it with Dame Lillard and Giannis, and he outdueled them.
I'll say this. I don't think LeBron comes out and has a night where the rim looks 20 foot wide again because it felt like he just couldn't miss.
No, and I don't either. But I think that it's something that's going to be a fun matchup. Lakers are 4.5-point favorites. Who you got in that game?
I'll take the Lakers to cover the 4.5 until they show me that they're going off the cliff. Because I know it's coming at some point. As a Lakers fan, I've been conditioned for it recently. But I'll take them until they show me otherwise.
I think there's been a lot of good matchups. The Pacers have been, every game they've played has been a good matchup. I don't think they're going to get blown out in this game either. I like what they're doing. I think they're the perfect in-season tournament team. And I know LeBron wants to win it really bad. But if the Pacers win it, it's just such a great thing to be like, well, you can't win NBA Finals, but in-season tournament, there you go, and give them something to put in that old dusty award box.
That's such a backhanded compliment. I think they're the perfect in-season tournament team.
And I mean, like, long-term, if you think about the Pacers.
Okay.
Like, Reggie Miller would have killed in the in-season tournament.
Reggie Miller would have killed in this NBA.
That's true.
Because he would be fading away, getting 3-point fouls everywhere.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I think he would like this seems it's just a fun thing if they win it. So I'm going to root for the underdog, and I'm going with the Pacers to cover 4.5. I think they win it, but I'm going to say they cover 4.5.
Well, good luck to you.
We do get some other NBA action tonight because there will be games tonight. One game on Saturday, no game Sunday, and then the NBA season resumes on Monday. But we do have that means all three Texas NBA teams are in action. Mavs are 9.5-point favorites against the Trailblazers. Luka is dominating right now. He's wearing a headband now.
I saw that.
And headband Luka seems to be really good.
When did that start?
I don't know, but headband Luka's been playing great.
Yeah, he doesn't have to wipe his face as much.
Yeah, so headband Luka's doing really well. They're 9.5-point favorites against the Trailblazers team that's really not trying to do too much this season.
Yeah, when you have an offensive explosion like they had in their last game and you beat a team by 50, there's typically a little bit of a regression.
There will be. They did not have to go back-to-back. They were able to go and rest on last night. I do think they beat the Trailblazers. I don't think that's much of a game. Interesting game, Rockets at Nuggets. Nuggets are 9.5-point favorites. The Rockets have been playing really, really, really good basketball and really, really, really good defense at home.
There you go.
They're going to Denver, where Jokic had one of his worst games the other night and just played really bad basketball and still had a double-double, but it was not a great.
Oh, no.
It was one of those, no, but it was like a Russell Westbrook double-double.
Oh, gross.
You know what I mean? Where it's like 10 rebounds, 9 assists, and then you're
8
like
turnovers.
And then it's like 14 points, but it's like on about like 8 of 25 shooting, something like that.
Yeah, sounds like a Russell Westbrook night.
So he had one of those. So can the Nuggets go up there, and can Şengün versus Jokic? That's a matchup to watch. We got League Pass because Şengün's been playing really good at center. But now this is two big body guys, and Jokic can move better. Can he get out to the 3-point line, pull Şengün out, see if they're going to be able to keep playing there? And if Şengün can go beat up on Jokic on the other end, that'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets win this one in a blowout. Sorry, Houston fans.
I
do.
It's
the same team on the road.
No, you're not. And for whatever reason, they always say defense travels.
Yeah, not that one.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't for whatever reason.
Well, it's because they have Dylan Brooks.
I think they rigged the rims. I think they're cheating, right?
Oh, they have to be. Absolutely. Actually,
every Houston team but the Astros cheats, right?
Ryan Day just texted me and said that they're cheating. Right.
I don't believe that, guys. I don't believe that. I want to start rumors. And the Bulls are 2.5-point favorites at the Spurs. The main thing we're watching in the Spurs game is do they run Yeti Osman out there at point guard again? Do they change the lineup? Do they go back to Sohan? Do they put someone else out in that starting lineup? But there's a Bulls team that is beat up as well. It's not seemed to be a great game.
I think it's interesting that the Spurs are only a 2.5-point dog in this after they've lost 15 straight and they're experimenting with lineups now. I think
but the Bulls are beat up.
Yeah.
So the Bulls, I don't believe Zach LaVine's playing in this game. I think he's still out. So DeRozan will come back and get people still like DeMar DeRozan there in San Antonio. So they'll talk, they'll be happy with him. But
right.
It does not seem to be a great game. I did see, if you want to go see Wembanyama, though, those tickets get a lot cheaper than they look like at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I bought some for the Moody Center.
The Moody Center tickets are still more expensive.
Okay.
But there's tickets tonight that are like under $10.
What?
Yeah.
So the Rockets last year, when they were really bad, they were giving out tickets with meal vouchers and drink vouchers as well.
Yeah. No, it's because people were like, well, I don't want to go watch them lose every night.
Right.
So it's harder for people. So I think a lot of people are reselling and, not going out. So look, if you want to go catch Wembanyama in his rookie season and you want to say, I want a chance to go see him, they're trying to play him as much in San Antonio, and there's tickets that are very affordable. Just saying.
Go do it.
If you want to go enjoy a Spurs game, check out those tickets. The secondary market is losing their butt right now because they bought up a ton of those tickets.
Thinking they'd sell them for a fortune.
Thinking that every game was going to be a playoff game for the Spurs.
Ouch.
And they're losing, which makes me kind of laugh a bit. But so, yeah, you can go on the secondary sites and stuff like that and find really good, like decent tickets for not that bad for Spurs games if you want to go. And maybe they turn it around, those ticket prices go back up. But right now, go get a chance to go see Wembanyama.
And San Antonio's close enough, make a day trip out of it.
Or just go down for the game and drive. I've done it a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go right after this game. I may go buy a ticket when we go up to the game.
No, will you buy me one?
No.
Oh, okay.
We got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to your text messages. Poll of the day. 512-447-3776. Which current Longhorn will be the highest drafted? And that doesn't mean next year. What player on this team, when they go pro, will be the highest drafted? That's what we're asking on the text line. 512-447-3776. We'll keep the show rolling here and take some of your text messages when we come back here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex here on the Horn on a Friday afternoon. It's a 512 Friday where we play local artists, and you can go check out around town this weekend. This is Paul Val, going to be playing Saturday nights at the Skylark.
I like that. It's got a real classic feeling to it.
Yes, he's an amazing guitar player too. But yeah, it gives you that classic rock, blues vibe. He's amazing. Always a good show to go check him out because they put on a show when Paul Val plays. So go check him out Saturday at the Skylark Lounge. And Skylark's a cool place where Paul plays a lot of places he's getting bigger and bigger and playing better places. So, it's a good chance to go check him out before he blows up.
Before you can't afford it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before he gets into that range where he costs more than a Spurs game.
Oh, well, yeah. That's unfortunate. There is a text here about that as well.
There's a text, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We're going to start reading your text. 512-447-3776. Anything you guys want to talk about, you can send in. Also, which current Longhorn will be drafted the highest? Whole roster. Not next year, whole roster. We're going to put that in there. I do appreciate it. It says, just feels fit in my 120-inch home theater for just in time for real football. I like it, but I see one problem. You got to have more than one screen in there, man.
Yeah.
You got to have the multi-screen. You want to watch a couple games. You want to have a couple. There's commercial breaks. You want to check out the other games in the commercial breaks. I like it, though. It's a nice picture. I like that.
Yeah, some people don't like the overwhelming feeling of all the TVs, though. Some people like to focus in on what they're watching.
That's craziness.
I don't agree with it, but it is.
But that's also probably why the doctors gave me drugs when I was a kid.
Oh, you care to list them off?
No,
okay.
No. But they did. But no, but I am someone who's just like I like to be distracted by everything, and then it helps me focus on one thing if I'm distracted. It's a process of why my brain's weird.
So you need 7 things going on to focus on one thing.
Yes.
Nice.
Now, the thing is, if you're trying to have a conversation with me and I really want to have it, and there's the worst thing I've ever seen on another TV, I'm going to watch the thing on the TV. I don't know why my brain does that. But it 100%, every time I'm at a bar and they're showing some crappy old movie, and then
or
my
those
friends,
channels that just loop videos.
Yeah, and then my friend's sitting next to me, and they're like, I'm going through a tough time. And you're like, yeah, man. But Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's got to get this.
Is that dog on a skateboard?
Texter says, I like seeing CD on jet sweeps. Well, I don't think you need to see him on a ton of jet sweeps. I don't like to put him in that harm's way.
I don't either.
Like star players like that, I get you can, but he's not a Deebo Samuel guy that's a bigger guy. You're not worried about taking that hit. But when you're like, you can get hit by defensive linemen on that, and you don't want a Micah Parsons type player to hit CeeDee Lamb.
You don't want Jalen Carter to burst through the line and see the jet sweep coming. Yeah.
I don't want to leave it up to those guys. Let him get tackled by defensive backs and safeties, and hopefully the worst day it'll take is a safety coming over.
Or at least where he has time to protect himself, where he can catch it and fall.
Exactly. Yeah. The Cowboys will absolutely pull the banana in the tailpipe on all their fans because that's what they do. I'm a Cowboys fan, but it feels less like a fandom and more like a disease. I had it and can't seem to get rid of it.
You are no longer allowed to text in. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Solid. Yeah, no. There you go. Banana in the tailpipe. Hey, guys, we're doing...
what you did? He was a Cowboy supporter for a minute. You see what he did?
I told you, historically. I told you. Locksmith Ryan says the obvious answer is usually the right answer. Arch Manning will be drafted first overall in 2026.
I can't argue with it, but we also haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna play in make believe land, I'll go Malik Murphy because he's still technically a Longhorn. He's gonna transfer out, ball out, and be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, and Quinn Ewers going to ball out next year, be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, so we're going to have a 3-way tie at QB, all 3 Longhorn QBs.
Yeah, we'll have all of those. Then Kelvin Banks, whenever he goes, number 1 pick. We got it. We might be a little overselling this, but no, I'm with you. Arch Manning is a clear choice to have one as the upside guy.
Don't get me wrong. I think that's a smart selection. I think Arch Manning is a smart selection.
Scarlett says, it's a tie. The NFL is a QB-driven league. They do anything they can to get their man. And Texas has not 1, but 2 5-star QBs that will go number 1 overall. They do have 3 5-star QBs, but 2 that she says will go number 1. Quinn Ewers in the 2025 draft and Arch Manning in the 2027 draft. How sweet it is. I'd love to see it. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to go number 1. I don't know if he has that, full upside where they want a guy to be a little bit more mobile. I don't know if he's ever going to be the real running quarterback that people would really like.
It depends what next year's QB class looks like, right?
It does. And but I don't know. And maybe he'll come out next year and be even better than this year. And maybe he'll be, on that next level. I haven't seen him be the number 1 overall pick. I think he could be a top 5 pick for sure.
Yeah, but you've seen him progress every season, so it's not out of the picture.
He could be. Vintage Scott says Quinn Ewers, also early players of the game for Washington State. early players of the game for Washington State, sticking in with my offense game plan for the Big 12 championship. Quinn Ewers. But on defense this time, I'm going with Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron's going to have a big game.
Absolutely.
Going to have a big game. I agree with you there, Vintage Scott. This texter says, left 2 San Antonio tickets on my car windshield, hoping to get rid of them. When I came back, there were 7.
Love it.
Terrible.
Love
Terrible.
it. Absolutely love it.
Just taking shots.
Actually, I don't like that because I am a Spurs ticket owner right now.
And for the record, you still get to see Victor Wembanyama play.
You do.
Like, if nothing else, you go, hey, man, because all I hear is people getting mad about load management. And they get mad because I don't get to see star players. And when I go to this game, I want to see a star player. And I'm giving you a star player for under $10. You can go to the game, bring your kid, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, bring your mistress, bring that dude that you passed by on the street. And he said, hey, go Spurs, go. And you bring him.
You said, sure, I got 7.
I got 7 tickets. They were left on my windshield. And you can go to the game. By the way, I believe the trick is they rob you when they leave the tickets. They know you're going to be out of town.
Oh.
Yeah. But I know it's a joke, too. So I'm just saying, I think there's a shot. If you want to go see a great player in Victor Wembanyama and then impress your friends in 15 years when you go, I saw him his rookie season. Tickets were $8.
Take a picture of the court.
And they said, we don't use dollars anymore. We now use the global
how much of that
money
how much
units.
Is that in Bitcoin?
How much is that in GMUs, global money units?
How many credits was that worth?
How many credits? But yeah, no, I think it's good. All right, we're going to get to more text messages and talk some NCAA football, NCAA basketball, NCAA volleyball. We'll get to all that when we come back on the Sports Complex for Hour 2 here on the Horn 101.9 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Hour 2 of the Sports Complex on a Friday. We're 1 hour away from the weekend here on the Sports Complex. My man Jacob Standard across the way. You guys on the text line, 512-447-3776. This hour we'll talk some NCAA football, basketball, volleyball, some baseball. We'll get into it all. Also, your text messages, and we're asking today, which current Longhorn will go first in the draft? Doesn't have to be this year's draft. Could be any years. Could be in a few years from now. Could be a freshman that's not going to be in this draft, but going up, or a sophomore, or junior, or a senior, or a redshirt senior.
Anybody.
Or a redshirt senior with the COVID year, graduate degree, all that stuff. Put them all in there. Which Longhorn will go first in the draft? Which pick will be the highest? We'll say the highest pick. And we know there's some people that going quarterback at 1. It's a safe bet, but keep texting that in, 512-447-3776. Do want to talk some college football with you. There's not a ton happening in Texas. I did not see any more transfers out of Texas or to Texas, so we don't have too much to talk about in the Texas front. We do know we're all still waiting to get really into Texas versus Washington. When we start to get more into that, and I'll have to go back and try and watch some more Washington film and break it down, which luckily a lot of us did this last year and broke down Washington last year, so we got a head start. Right. But we'll be going into that and breaking it down probably, as we get a little bit closer to the holiday season and, we start to have those shorter weeks, and we'll get into it. And, so maybe next week we'll start to get into it a little bit more because then we'll go into Christmas and, just keeping it rolling here on the Sports Complex. And if anytime you guys have a question about it or want to talk about it, send in a text and we'll talk about whatever you text on the line because you guys drive the show. We just try to keep it on the rails. I did see something, and this is the second or third time I've seen him mention this and saying this is his new battle. Dabo Swinney, the head coach of Clemson, we know that he is not a huge supporter of NIL. We know that he is definitely not a supporter of the transfer portal. He is an old school, old-minded that way, in the same way Gundy is for Oklahoma State, where it's no, I do the way I do it. If they don't want to be, and we shouldn't be allowing these guys to make whatever decisions and that. And he's realized that take is not going over well.
No.
And one of the main things not going over well is with boosters. And so the people who will pay to get him fired when he doesn't have a great season, if he continues to not do that. No, he's won national championships. You cannot fire a man after he's won national championships after 1 or 2 bad seasons. Now, they may.
You certainly can.
But you shouldn't. You should give him a little bit of time to turn it around. But if he's saying, well, I'm not going to pay NIL, I'm not getting transfers, then they don't want to see that. So he has shifted what his talking points are on this.
Oh, boy.
And he has shifted his talking points now to it's tampering. Everyone's tampering, and that's a problem. It's tampering.
Yeah, obviously.
He's also said the thing, which it always kind of annoys me when people do this, but he says, well, if they let us fix it, we could fix it, but they won't let us fix it. And he does not say how he would fix it.
Yeah, he's just complaining.
Because I don't think he has a real solution. I think his solution would most likely be, we'll close the transfer portal and don't pay NIL. And they go, well, that's not fixing it. That's stopping it.
Yeah.
They're two different things. But he says if they let us fix it, we could fix it. But, we know that there's tampering. And you go, of course you know there's tampering. There's always been tampering. There's been tampering before the transfer portal was a thing.
There's tampering in any sport where free agency exists.
Yeah, and there's tampering in, and this is free agency.
That's exactly what it is.
And I know he said, you can say that we talked about the cornerback that is transferring out of Clemson, and that Texas head of high school recruiting is his former coach.
Right.
And so you go, well, you can clearly look and say there's ties where he was talking to it's a known long-term relationship, so he can have those conversations.
Probably a mentor. He was his head coach.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So it fits into those weird rules. And look, this happens. This has been happening. It happens against every team, and it happens for every team. And it's like the signal stealing. When we talked about signal stealing, and you go, certain teams do it more, and certain teams are more egregious with it, and they rely on it more. And other teams don't have to rely on it. And I think what Dabo is missing the point is he thinks that the teams that he's probably going to say are the most tampering are probably not. That a Texas and a Georgia and a Michigan and a Washington, or Washington maybe still a little bit, but not too much. But a lot of these programs, you're like, they're already good. we don't have to overfake the sales. We don't have to oversell this.
Well, my question would be, how would you even begin to regulate it? A lot of these kids are good enough to be recruited by multiple programs, which means those coaches know their coaches, they know their family members, they have the phone numbers for all of them.
If you believe in clickbait, then you believe that there's people that could get, $15 million, which is not true. It's just not true. We've talked to people that deal with this kind of stuff, and maybe we're wrong. Maybe Texas is the cheapest program in college football, and Texas is underpaying everybody.
And everybody's there for the spirit of the game.
I don't believe that for a second.
Not even a little bit.
But that when you hear the numbers and what you kind of figure around, if they're making decent money. I'm not saying they're not, but when you hear these numbers thrown around for every player and everybody who's in the portal, it's just not true. And so I think Dabo is under the assumption that people are calling them up and saying, well, if you go in the portal, we'll get you $5 million. And
I think it's more of the agents getting in their ear and saying that.
And I think that Dabo is also in the world where he has players that are coming to him and saying, I need a pay raise because I'll get one elsewhere. And now this is all negotiation.
Yeah.
And Dabo is believing the kid because he likes the kid. He recruited the kid. He really likes this kid. He doesn't want to believe that this kid is lying straight to Dabo Swinney's face and doesn't have the money. And there's no $5 million deal lined up somewhere else. But when he says, there's a $5 million deal on the table for me at another school, he goes, they're tampering. And he goes, no, they're trying to do business. They want more money to stay with you, and you are upset. And now, yes, have people reached out to their high school coaches? Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Have people reached out and gotten into contact with them and told them that there's other opportunities for them, and why are you there? Of course. And you know what? That also happened 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
When you weren't getting playing time and you went home on Thanksgiving and you were the best high school player in your town, but now you're sitting behind a player and you're sitting behind Ricky Williams. Well, you should get out of that University of Texas because that Ricky Williams, you're better than him.
Right.
And you should go here and you should do that. Now, they could then say, we'll give you money if you do. But that's not necessarily happening as much as people think. I think there is quarterbacks that definitely a booster will get out and say, go get this quarterback. But then the problem is a booster will go to a quarterback and say, we'll give you, I can get you, if you play here and you do all these things, you could make upwards of $300,000. And they say, he offered me $300,000. He goes, no, he didn't. He offered you, if you do all these things. And then he goes to coach and goes, I offered that kid that he could make upwards of $300,000. He goes, oh, I don't want that kid.
Now what?
And that's the problem with NIL. So there's parts where now you're not even recruiting them. And so that kid goes in the transfer portal thinking that he's got an offer from one school, doesn't. Now he can get somewhere else, but that money is all kind of made up. So the Dabo Swinney tampering thing is an issue that it feels like he's so far behind the times on it. He's right. There is tampering. It's just that because it exists.
There's no way to regulate it. There is absolutely zero ways to regulate it.
No, and if the NCAA is still able to exist until you get rid of the NCAA and you have a real organization to take care of problems, the NCAA does not care as long as they get their cut of the money. They will do nothing to stop anything. They're a terrible organization. And for football, let me say, because they've done some things and other stuff. But for football, for basketball, for major money things, they're stealing money from children.
Borderline
That's
criminals.
what they're doing. Yes.
Yeah, borderline
and their own founder has said it should not be legal what they did.
Yeah.
So if we have that, and we know that Dabo Swinney is still trying to live in the old world, it's just done. And I get some listeners probably are yelling at the radio that, it should go back to the good old days. The good old days are gone. They just are.
You sound like Dabo.
And I'm sorry. I apologize. But you got to remember, I'm 40 years old. I come from a generation that will probably never be able to own a house because I work in radio. Just because that's no longer, I don't make enough money that I'll ever be able to buy a house, at least not in Austin, Texas. That's for sure.
Whew.
And so if you say at 40, and those guys are 20 years younger than I am, there's a different mindset of the new generations that are coming up that money is very centric to it because they understand that their parents have dealt with money issues their whole lives because of the generations that are going. And so it's a different world that, you have to understand where these kids are coming from for a certain point, that they're playing on these big national TVs. They're moving Monday Night Football because they want to show college football games, but they're not paying them. So this is what's going to happen. NIL is going to be a thing. Kids are going to enter the transfer portal when they think there's more money because they want to go get more money. Now you should be regulating it, but Dabo Swinney just complaining again about the tampering is only him. and I know because Texas is going to get mentioned a lot in this.
Yep.
And all you have to put is this is an old man who does not want transfer portal. He does not want NIL. He wants to be able to break down his opponent, his players, and build them back up. That's the old school way of coaching. Is you do military training. You break them down. You take away all their free will, and they do what you want them to do. It's old school. It happened a lot back in the day. Not all coaches did that, but a lot of coaches did. And a lot of really good coaches did it. And I'm not saying because the military does it, and you have some great soldiers. Like, it's not necessarily – it works.
Efficient.
It works.
Yeah.
But you have to change with the times. And so when we see what's happening with Dabo Swinney now, just keep in mind, I just want to keep all Texas fans aware that your name is going to be thrown under the bus several times now because people already don't like Texas fans, and they're going to come say that if you get anybody from Clemson or anybody that Texas gets in this transfer portal that they tampered and they should not be and they should get punishment. Just understand that these guys are grasping at straws of a world that they no longer are able to live in.
You're definitely going to get brought up because the exact example he used was, I might have to suit up and play cornerback myself.
Yes.
And that's the kid where he's right in the mix of it. How about this, Dabo? How about you stop being stubborn? You evolve with the times, and you stop pointing the finger at everything but yourself for your recent shortcomings.
You got to grow. You got to grow. And speaking of NIL, another story that came down that I don't believe the numbers in one bit.
Oh, you don't?
Marvin Harrison Jr. is now, the reports are undecided about going pro. And I think there's a couple things about this.
Yeah, right.
I think there's a couple things. I think he's being a really good friend to Ryan Day in the Ohio State. And I think he may be getting paid to be it. He may not. But I think he's being a good, loyal subject to Ohio State.
We need some recruits, man. Say you're coming back.
And say, don't until we get another quarterback.
Yep.
Say you're leaving.
Yeah.
Don't until we get a couple people, not even recruits, but we need someone in the transfer portal. And if you're walking away, we're not as appealing of a place for a transfer. Right. But once they sign on that line and they're committed to coming to Ohio State, go to the draft. Have fun.
I'm going to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison
But
Jr.
they came out and said $20 to $25 million a year.
No chance.
For one more year just so they can beat Michigan.
For a non-quarterback. No shot.
To beat Michigan. His whole thing is I'd like to beat the team up north one time. Because they can't say Michigan. Like, at least we say Oklahoma.
Right.
We say the word sucks right after, but we at least say Oklahoma.
They say the team up north.
The team up north. They can't say the name. And they say the Ohio State. And they're just.
I don't believe this for a second.
I don't believe it for a second.
The dude gets talked about as the best football player in college, period.
He is.
Regardless of position.
He's amazing.
Your draft stock doesn't get higher than that.
He was the reason that that was somewhat, like when the Texans traded away their pick, and he went, oh, man.
Really?
Can you imagine C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. together?
Right.
Oh, man. I mean, it wasn't going to happen with how good they were this year, but yeah, that is a rough one.
No, it doesn't get in. He's the only non-QB invited to New York for the Heisman ceremony. Your draft stock does not get any higher. He's going to go because it takes one injury for that slide to start.
Yeah, it does. And let's go talk about the Heisman Trophy. They will be awarded tomorrow night. There's 4 finalists that are going to to New York for the ceremony. Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, and Marvin Harrison Jr., who is actually behind Jalen Milroe in the last odds I saw. That clearly is not. He can't be behind him anymore.
Right.
Because he's going to New York and Jalen Milroe is not. But this is the thing. Your front runner right now is Jaden Daniels. He is coming from a 3-loss team. It's not very often that a 3-loss player wins a Heisman. It has happened 11 times total.
You know who the last one was?
I do.
Okay.
It's happened 3 times in the last 30 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
3 times in the last 30 years.
Okay.
We know last time was 2016,
yep.
Lamar Jackson.
Right.
They dropped 2 late in the season, but he's had such a dominant year. They blamed it on the defense. They blamed it on other issues.
Right.
Lamar Jackson wins the Heisman in 2016.
Deserving, by the way. Deserving.
Before that, man out of Baylor, Robert Griffin III.
Oh, I did
wins
know
it in
that.
2011. 3-loss team Baylor.
Yep.
They say, well, he's playing at a Baylor team that's not great, but he's great. He made them. They should have been a 7-loss team.
Yeah.
And he made them a 3-loss team. And the one before that, 1998.
Uh-oh.
Ricky Williams.
Really?
Ricky Williams wins the Heisman after bringing Texas to a much better record than anyone expected them to be. Breaks all sorts of records. Ricky Williams wins on a 3-loss Texas team.
Sticky icky Ricky.
So Ricky is part of it. Texas is part of this. That is a 3-loss Heisman winner. Jaden Daniels is your favorite with 3 losses. I feel like this is something that I don't want to hear what Florida State thinks about because they beat him.
Oh, you think they'd have an opinion?
I feel like they may have another opinion. that they're being disrespected, that Florida State game didn't count?
If you were to give Mike Norvell a mic on this, how quickly does it transition from Heisman talk to we got screwed out of the playoffs?
Before the mic reaches his face. We're aware of that, but it's an interesting thing. He is a betting favorite right now by a pretty long margin. Michael Penix Jr. is next, and Bo Nix is after that. A lot of people feel that you can't give it to Bo Nix if you to pass over Michael Penix Jr., considering the fact Michael Penix Jr. beat him twice.
Yeah,
twice.
So
I think that there's that thought, which is making Jayden Daniels be in front because they still want to give it to Bo Nix, but he didn't beat Michael Penix Jr. But I think they want to give it to Bo Nix. We will see how they vote if it's a 2-loss Bo Nix, a 3-loss Jayden Daniels, a 1-loss Marvin Harrison Jr., or a 0-loss Michael Penix Jr. You got all the numbers there.
I'll put it to you this way. Depending on what book you're looking at, I got Jayden Daniels at minus 1,400, and the next closest is Michael Penix at plus 900.
That's what I'm saying.
Sizable gap.
It's a sizable gap. You know, people voting on this, they can go reach out and talk to people.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be Jayden Daniels tomorrow night. I'd love to see an upset and Michael Penix Jr. win it.
That would be awesome.
Anything you can give Washington before this game.
A little bit of bait, yeah.
Anything you can give them. Give them Coach of the Year. Give them the Heisman.
Give them both Coach of the Year awards.
That one won't be till January 10th.
Oh, yeah, we won't know.
Sark can get that one.
Make him a finalist.
Yeah, but give them every single. Don't give them the Outland Award. That one goes to Devondre Sweat. But but give them all those awards that Texas is not up for. Give them all those awards and let Texas come in and be like, oh, you think you're better than us? You think you're better than us? I'd like to see that. All right.
Who was that you were channeling right there? For you think who's giving that speech?
I don't know who's giving that speech. I don't know. Why don't we take a quick break? When we come back, we'll get some more of your texts, and we'll talk a little college basketball as well, and a little Texas volleyball. When we come back here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 101.9 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. back on the Sports Complex here in the Horn. It's a 512 Friday, playing local music. You can go check out Around Town live and in person this weekend. This is the Peterson Brothers, very talented Peterson Brothers. They are playing Saturday night at the Continental Club. It's a little bit earlier show, I believe. I believe they're playing like 7:30. So if you want to get out, you don't want to go out late, want to go down to the famous Continental Club and check out some really good blues and soul, and check out the Peterson Brothers. They're really, really good.
Smooth.
Yeah, they're
like
really,
this.
really good.
Yeah.
They play bass and guitar, and they're both really talented players. But yeah, check out the Pearson. They've been around town playing since they were like 13, 14, something like that probably.
It's just those two making all that
No.
noise?
They have other guys in the band, but
okay.
those two have been playing with different projects
Yeah.
and stuff since they've been, young kids around town and very well respected. Played some shows. Gary Clark Jr.'s had them open up some shows and stuff, so they've been playing around. So But yeah, good show. And I think it's an earlier show for that on Saturday. So if it's something a little bit earlier, you don't want to get out. I know I'm getting older. I have a friend that I keep wanting to go see. And every time, I'm like, what time do you play? And he's like, midnight. I'm like, that is not, because then I have to then stay up and ready for it until then. It's not so much that I can't stay up that late. It's that I'm like, by the time we get to 11, I don't want to leave the house anymore.
When's the last time you arrived at a destination at midnight?
I have, but I've been drinking beforehand. Sober?
Oh, you're talking about first destination of the night.
First destination of the night, midnight.
Yeah.
No, that's craziness at this age. I don't do that anymore.
That's a tough sell for me.
I've done it before, because before I'd be like, oh, I work till 11 o'clock, and then, you know. So I've done stuff where, you just go out and,
But first destination of the night, midnight, that's a tough sell.
No, we get off here at 6. I got to do some more work. And then you're like, okay, it's 7. Then I eat dinner. And then you're like, well, it's 8.
Now I'm full.
I have 3 hours to not do something that's going to make me not want to go out.
So go do something beforehand.
I can't. Then I'm drinking all night, and you don't want to do that either.
Yeah, well, to each his own.
To each his own. Yeah, and then I got to come back in, and it's a Friday. So yeah, but I keep seeing that. So I'm just saying, early show. If you want to go see them, they play a little bit earlier, so you can get out and see the show, and then get home before all the craziness happens. You can enjoy a nice Saturday night and get to bed and wake up Sunday and watch football all day. It's plenty. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Saturday, who knows what's going to happen? I'll be at the basketball game on Saturday.
Hey.
Going down. I've not been to the Moody Center for a basketball game as a spectator and not working yet.
You going Saturday?
I'll be going on Saturday. Texas is taking on Houston Christian on Saturday. Hopefully a good rebound game for the Longhorns. There's a game where I wouldn't be surprised if Shedrick sits it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he plays like 15 to 20 minutes in it.
Just to kind of keep the legs fresh.
Just after you saw the same thing I did, where he was kind of a little bit beat up on that shoulder.
He gets caught in somebody's arm, and then he starts shaking that shoulder out real bad.
So, but we don't know but I would not be surprised if he doesn't play a ton of minutes. They should still be able to handle Houston Christian. This is a good rebound game for them. But yeah, I'll be at the Moody Center for that game with some friends to enjoy it as a spectator. I used to work all those games on the sidelines, so
yeah.
I don't have I'm not getting paid for the great seats anymore, though.
Well, I've been once as a spectator. It is quite the show when you don't have to focus on anything but the game and what's going on. Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that one as well. All right, text line's open. Oh, by the way, I will mention a couple things before we go to the text line. Bronny James.
Yep.
If we want to see Bronny James, who is the second coming
of
LeBron James.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's could be making his debut on Sunday, which means LeBron will not be partying in Vegas on Saturday night, because he would be playing on Saturday night and then immediately going to catch USC play for his son's first game.
I don't think he was going to party anyway.
I don't know, man. I feel like LeBron's if you want to be great like Jordan, man.
I don't think anybody that spends $1 million on their body every year is partying.
You got to get out there and party, man.
I don't think he is.
You got to Ty Henderson that one. Just go for it.
How much do you think Ty Henderson spends on his physical well-being?
Negative money. Negative money.
Spends money to affect his.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm on that. But I'm going to count anytime you buy Taco Bell as negative money.
Oh, then I am. Wow, I'm really negative. Oh no.
But yeah, that game will be happening 2 p.m. on Saturday. A nice early afternoon game for Texas there at the Moody Center. Bronny James could be happening on Sunday, so something to check out if you're looking for something to watch if you're not an NFL fan, or if you want something on, if you got the 5 TVs and you need an extra game to put on there, you can put on Bronny James. And Texas volleyball will also be playing Saturday night, I believe.
Yes, they're
playing the late game on Saturday night, so you can probably watch that even post Cowboys Eagles.
Hey,
or Saturday night.
Saturday
Post Heisman. Sorry.
Yeah, you can definitely put that game on.
But you watch some of they win their game against
Tennessee.
They won 3 sets to 2. Did you watch some of that?
I did. So I was trying to find, I got to admit, I'm sorry, volleyball fans. I was not looking for Texas volleyball. I was looking for SportsCenter on ESPN2, but that game ran long. I think they said the final tally was like 3 hours and 15 minutes, which I guess is unheard of for volleyball. But I'm sorry, volleyball fans. I have been missing out. That was quite an electrifying product. Madison Skinner was absolutely incredible out there on the court. She's long, tall, and when she jumps, she just floats there for a second while she picks her target before launching the ball to the ground or right into some poor girl's face. That was a lot of fun to watch. But the refs are slowing down the product big time. I guess there's no cap on coaches' challenges in volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
And the coaches got into a petty off, kind of, and they were just challenging anything that was remotely close to reviewable, and one of them took no less than 20 minutes. So great product to watch. Don't let the refs kill that product.
Don't let the refs.
It's really fun to watch.
I will say, I'm telling you, I don't know if this has been fully. I've seen it in a few games recently, both NFL and college, where they have not been reviewing things that were going to be play stands, and you could tell there was no clear evidence.
Where they do we did the quick discussion, and we have ruled the play stance.
Yeah, they're like, there's nothing that's going to be able to overturn it. Let's not slow down the game by doing a 7-minute try to find the thing to overturn it.
Oh, by the way,
let him play. I've been enjoying that.
The 20-minute review was call stands. There's not enough evidence to overturn.
That's it. So if it thinks it's going to be call stands, if you think it'd be call overturn, review it.
If it takes you 15 minutes to review it, there's not enough evidence.
That's true. They take on the number 1 seed Stanford in the Final Four
at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on Saturday. So support the Texas volleyball team. You can check that one out.
It's a ton of fun to watch. Elite volleyball is fun to watch, and I'm sorry I've been missing out.
It is fun to watch. I'll probably have it on Saturday night because it's a 9 o'clock game.
ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus. I have ESPN Plus. We're good to go.
Too, yeah.
But I'll probably be watching that on Saturday night because what else am I going to be watching on a Saturday night?
Yeah, it was thrilling. I liked it. It was a pleasant surprise, even though I was looking for SportsCenter. I apologize.
Right guy from New Mexico on the text line, 512-447-3776, says highest draft pick, and now this may be a hot take, but I'm going with Anthony Hill Jr. I think it's there.
Not bad.
It's not bad. And if he becomes an elite rusher, if he becomes an elite pass rusher and that linebacker pass rusher and becomes puts a little bit more size on that frame, then he could be a top pick too.
Not comparing skill sets, but possibly that Micah Parsons kind of role, not player, that role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That linebacker edge rusher that kind of plays in there. We know what he's been able to do and what he can do it as a freshman.
You can line him up in any gap, A, B, edge, wherever you need him. Yeah, drop him into a zone.
This texter says Arch Manning hands down will be the highest drafted. Not a bad one. Sweat, the first draft pick. I think he will be this time. I think he will be this year. I think he can be this year. Not sure if he will be out of everyone there.
Current Longhorns.
Yes, of current Longhorns. But I do think he'll be this year. Don't need multiple TVs with the NFL Red Zone. But I like watching the games.
I like getting the context. The Red Zone is cool. And I will tell you, one of my TVs is on Red Zone, so I can keep up with my fantasy teams. But the games I'm trying to pay attention to, you don't get the full story of the game on Red Zone.
Yes. No, I agree. And I think there's points where you miss out on things. And I like Red Zone. But I will watch a Cowboys game or a Texans game. I will watch the game itself.
Right.
Other than watching the Red Zone. And if neither one of those teams is on, I'll usually watch Red Zone. Because I'm not watching a specific team where I want to see the play, what's happening between the plays and how the penalties are called and how the team looks.
I'll do high-profile matchups.
I may too. Yeah. Like I watched San Francisco in
Philly.
In Philly. Yeah, exactly. I watched that one too.
Yeah.
My man Bruce. Hey, Bruce, what's going on? Go check out Saucer Music. Saucer, all their music is streaming.
Nice plug.
We'll talk about some football as we keep going on. We're a little bit late in the show for the call-in now, Bruce, but I do appreciate you tuning in. Kevin from Elgin. Ohio State says the team to the north, and the Aggies say the team to the east. Do the Aggies know directions? Do they? I don't know if they do.
That's not where I thought you were going.
I don't trust the Aggies with that. I don't really.
That team to the east. Whoop.
That team to the east. They're over there on the East Coast. I don't have any. I really don't have a ton of hatred for the Aggies. I just like making jokes. WPI Parts Guy says, off topic, favorite memories from the Frank Irwin Center. I think my first concert ever, first big concert, I saw Rod Stewart there when I was a kid. My parents took me there.
I think I saw a UFC event there one time.
Yeah, it was. I worked a ton of games there as well. So I've worked a ton of events there at the Irwin Center. It's a cool place. I remember, I can tell you a memory that's weird. COVID, doing basketball games with Craig Way and Eddie Orrin in the suite.
Empty stadium.
We had to run a line for the interview from the suite down the stairs to Shaka at the bottom in a little headset. And we'd have to look at each other. And then inevitably, some crew would come in and unplug something.
Right.
And we wouldn't test it until the end because I couldn't go down there and test it because of COVID. So I had to. So we were sitting up there, and then he would put it on, and then I had to freak out and run around and find what got unplugged, plug it back in, and then get the game on. But yeah, we used to do that one, and we were sitting in a suite.
Yeah.
And you like have another game on the TV. It was nice. No one's there. You just roll in, you roll out. There's no one there.
All that for 30 seconds of audio from Shaka Smart.
Shaka Smart to go. Played a tough game. It was a hard fought.
We scored more points than they did, so that means we won. We got to clean some things up, but we'll be better.
But yeah, no, I will miss the Irwin Center. I've seen some cool concerts there as well. Look, the Moody Center is just way better now. It's sad it's sad that they kind of tore it down without telling anybody.
Yeah, they just kind of buried that.
Yeah, they just kind of were like, oh, by the way, we're not even gonna implode it like a cool way,
right?
Because we don't want to get everything dirty. But no, I there is some cool stuff that happened at the Irwin Center. I do think my first big concert was Rod Stewart there, but I've seen Aerosmith there. I think I've seen ZZ Top there multiple times. I've seen a few shows over at the Irwin Center in its time, and but yeah, and a ton of basketball games.
It was just time to update, and the Moody Center is gorgeous.
No, and what they've done with the Moody and the fan section.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I saw basketball games. I remember, I'll tell you a fun memory I have because I was with my buddy who's a big North Carolina fan.
Okay.
And it's who I'm actually going to the game with tomorrow. But it was North Carolina versus Texas.
Ooh.
And at the time, North Carolina was a much better team. I think this is the year they won the national championship.
Okay.
They at least
remember
played
who
for
was
it.
Playing?
I know one player for Texas who was playing. I can tell you one player that I remember because it was Javon Felix hit the game winner over North Carolina. And we were supposed to hang out all night. And I was okay with Texas losing because North Carolina was a ranked team and we were not even ranked, if I remember correctly. And Texas hits the game winner and beats North Carolina. And he was the saddest person to drag around downtown drinking after that.
Oh, boo.
But yes, that was a fun memory because it was just like it wasn't supposed to, it was a big game, but no one was really expecting Texas to win. And then Texas wins. And so there was a lot of North Carolina fans there that were not thrilled about it. And Texas fans were going nuts. So that's a good memory. I appreciate you bringing that up, WPI Parts Guy, to remember those.
No way. Texas fans don't rub it in people's faces when they win.
We'll have to do that for a question on the text line. We'll have to do that, but not today because we've only got 20 minutes left in the show. So we'll do it when we got some more time left in the show. We'll ask everybody their favorite memories.
I like that.
So we'll do it next week probably because we're getting into it's a little bit more dead right now as we get into the holiday season.
It's never dead. It's never dead.
It's never dead. Look, there's always sports happening. We're in Texas. NBA's going. I can talk about NBA all day long. I think Ethan Burke will be most improved next year. Dude has potential to be elite. I think Ethan Burke is going to continue to improve as well.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. And do we have any update on Colton Vosick? Is he going to crack the starters next year?
I think he could not crack a starter. I think he could crack playing time. Yeah, I think he can crack in the rotation. It depends on how many transfers they get in on that D-line because the D-line depth, especially if Alfred Collin leads, it becomes a lot thinner. So if you need to start bringing guys in, I think that he could start getting some more playing time next year.
Well, my thinking was if we're going to lose the two All-Americans in the middle, beef up the edges.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just the dogs
let's be honest. Beef up everything.
Right, yeah, right. Let's just get all the best players in the portal at every position.
We're tampering according to Dabo.
Hey, let's start calling their family members and applying the pressure.
All Cole PD. Called Chan. Appreciate you listening. Julian from Westwood said, I saw R. Kelly and Bone Thugs and Harmony at the Frank Irwin Center. Yep, I can tell because he went to the same high school I did graduated a few years before me. That is dead on. That is dead on for what Westwood would have wanted to go to in 99 is R. Kelly and Bone Thugs and Harmony.
What a show.
Hey, look, I mean, that seems like it would have been a fun show. After party, steer clear. But the show would have been fun.
Why do you have to steer clear of the after party?
Yeah, Splash Zone.
Yep.
All right.
Moving on.
You know what? Let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap up the show. Sorry, I make myself laugh sometimes. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Get you ready for the weekend here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. All right, wrapping the show up here on the Sports Complex. Appreciate all you guys on the text line. We still got a couple minutes left, so if you got something else you got to throw in there, like WPI Parts guy says Burke is similar to Brian Robinson. Like that, I could see that.
I can see the comparisons there.
I can see the comparisons there.
If he improves.
Yeah, he's got to keep improving. For sure. But we're gonna keep it wrapping up here. Jacob, any big plans this weekend?
Any big plans this weekend? I am going to watch some free fights. I am a casual UFC fan, so I'll watch some free fights tomorrow night. Big game Sunday night, so I might go do something for that. I've got a buddy in town who's a 49ers fan and loves when the Cowboys are in a matchup they're possibly going to lose, so I might go watch it with him. And
I mean, who doesn't love when the Cowboys are in a matchup they could possibly lose?
So you know
because
what?
It means for Cowboys fans, it's great because you can win that game and it's a huge game. And for everyone else in the country, the Cowboys could lose.
Okay, so let me rephrase. He loves every week that the Cowboys have an opportunity to lose.
So he loves every week of football?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I think he loves it more than when the 49ers win, which is a little strange. But yeah, so I might figure out something to go do there. What about yourself? You got any? Oh, besides the basketball game.
I'll be going to the basketball game on Saturday. Go check out some, maybe go check out some music. We'll be around. I got a buddy in town. We'll be playing next week. We'll be playing more music from Jelly's 11th annual Christmas Jam that's happening next Thursday. Going to be a really fun time supporting some good charities and having a good time. So we'll be doing that. We'll talk more about that a bunch next week. It's a lot of fun to go out to that show. Just tell you, every year we do it. The Jam is one of the coolest things. So I'm going to be hanging out. Jelly is in town to get ready for that. He lives here, but his house burned down. So that's why he does a benefit for firefighters relief because they helped clean his, keep his house from burning more things. He's got his guitars back out of there.
Well, that's really
We'll talk
cool.
about that. Jelly may come on the show next week too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But we'll get through all of that. We'll talk a little bit more about Texas next week as we get into it. As we get to the 18th, that's when we'll really start getting into Texas and Washington and get you through the coverage as we get through Christmas week. We'll be doing a couple shows, I believe, Christmas week, and then we are on. We'll do a pregame show on January 1st, and we are back on the air on Tuesday to talk about it. I've talked to Aaron, I've talked to Rod, and everybody on the Horn is going to try and bring you the most coverage we can around these games because we're all hoping and predicting Texas to get a big win over Washington. So as long as we can, keep us on the air and, keep us talking about these games, we want to do that for you guys and you Texers. We appreciate you always tuning in. And my man Chan there.
We want to give you all a place to vent, too, after a Texas game.
After a Texas win.
Win or lose, we like
Texas
to give
win.
you all a spot to just voice your opinions.
Appreciate Jan also says, surprised that Isaiah Neyor has not entered the portal.
There were rumors that he intends to.
Yeah, I could believe that as well. You just, when you're not playing, that's more likely.
Right.
We did mention this week. Did we mention that Juan Soto is now a New York Yankee?
So a texter brought it up yesterday, and we both looked it up. I think I found the details. Is this a 7-year deal?
They gave him the new deal because the Padres didn't want to. The Padres, I guess, have finally figured out that you just can't keep trading for these guys, and eventually it doesn't pan out. They kind of fell into what the Angels have fallen into, which is we have the best players, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't put it together.
Right.
So they seem to be moving off. But Soto to the Yankees, they now have an outfield of Soto, Judge, and Stanton.
Fun.
And 2 of those 3 can run.
Well, who are the 2?
Stanton cannot run. Have you seen Stanton try and run the bases?
The Judge he's not quick either.
Judge is quicker. Judge is still young and has that. Stanton is pretty beat up. And Judge is actually a pretty good defender too. But yeah, that's an annoying for all of you Rangers fans. Seriously, I don't get when I would tell Rangers fans, I'm like, well, you hate the Yankees more than the Astros. Like, we can all hate the evil empire, right?
No.
And they were like, no, we hate the Astros. Like, why? We're not the evil empire.
I don't understand it.
You guys were good. You guys were better than us like 7-8 years ago. You guys were beating us every time. And then the Yankees were still better than you then.
Right.
And the Yankees have always been better than you. Why are you not more mad at it? Like, shouldn't you aim higher than us at the evil? But I know they weren't higher than us the last couple of years. We keep beating them. But
also,
they do moves like this.
Also, they're buying baseball. Like, I think everybody can get behind hating them for that reason. I mean, I've met multiple people where it's like, my team, my team, my team. Oh, but screw the Yankees.
I know. I didn't get that all last year. I kept trying to find some solidarity because I was rooting for the Rangers too. I like, oh man, let's go Texas teams.
Yeah, dude,
you got no animosity towards you guys.
I was in my living room singing, "Can you take me?"
I wasn't doing that. Don't remind. I mean, Pantera is from there. Just such a better band.
Oh, see, but it's not as catchy with the internet.
I don't care about Ketchy. Just terrible. Terrible. Not you guys on the text line. You guys are awesome.
I'm calling Scott Stapp.
Call him up. He's going to tell you fly Marlins fly. Or soar Marlins soar. Whatever it was. Whatever it was. It wasn't involved swimming. Doesn't know what Marlins do.
Chan, you said go Eagles. That's uncalled for. We don't need that. All right. I was trying to end the day on a happy note. We don't need that.
All right. We're going to take off. We're going to be back on Monday, 4 o'clock. More great sports content for you, or at least good sports content, probably acceptable.
Hopefully you laugh.
Hopefully we have a good time.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys. We hope you're back with us, texting in on the text line. Until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here, 4 p.m. on Monday for the Sports Complex on the Horn.